The farm at the edge of the county had been abandoned for more than 20 years. The fields were overgrown with weeds. The barn was slowly collapsing, and the old farmhouse had windows darkened by dust and thick spiderwebs. Locals avoided the place. They said the farm was never truly empty, just quiet. When Mark arrived, he didn't believe in rumors. He needed a cheap place to stay, and the farm was for sale. The first night was unnaturally calm. No wind, no birds, just a heavy silence pressing against the walls. Around midnight, he heard footsteps in the yard. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Mark stepped outside. The yard was empty, but a faint light glowed inside the barn. That light shouldn't have been there. When he opened the door, it vanished. Inside were only old wooden troughs, but fresh hoof prints covered the dirt floor. There hadn't been animals on the farm for years. The second night, he heard cows lowing. The sound was painful, desperate, like a call for help. It came from the field where nothing had grown in decades. When he reached it, the field was empty, but the grass was trampled, flattened as if an entire herd had been standing there moments before. On the third night, there was knocking on the window. 3 slow taps. When Mark pulled back the curtain, he saw a tall silhouette standing by the fence. It had no face, just a dark emptiness where one should have been. The figure didn't move. It simply stood there, watching the house. By morning, Mark found words carved into the barn door, "Don't leave." The letters were deep and fresh. That was when he understood the farm wanted something. Not money, not care. It wanted presence. Mark left that same day. The farm is still for sale, but anyone who drives past it at night swears they see lights moving across the field and hear animals that no longer exist. Mysterious night incident at a remote forest cabin. A disturbing incident was reported last winter at a remote wooden cabin hidden deep in the forest. The cabin, usually used only by hikers and hunters, stands far from any road or nearby settlement. According to the witness, the event took place during a cold, silent night when the surrounding area was completely covered in snow. The witness arrived at the cabin in the early evening and made sure to secure all doors and windows before going to sleep. Everything appeared normal at first. However, shortly after midnight, unusual sounds began to come from outside. At first, they sounded like slow footsteps moving around the cabin, stopping and starting, as if someone was carefully observing the building. Moments later, the sound of a door handle being tested was heard. There was no force, no sudden movement, just a slow and deliberate attempt to open the locked door. The witness reported feeling intense fear and remained completely still, afraid that any noise might reveal their presence. Soon after, quiet knocking followed. It was not aggressive or rushed, but calm and repetitive, suggesting that the person outside was confident and patient. Looking through a small window, the witness saw the figure of a man standing very close to the door. His face was partially visible in the moonlight, but his expression was described as blank and unsettling. What made the situation even more disturbing was that the man did not attempt to break in. He simply stood there, knocking occasionally, as if waiting to be invited inside. After several minutes, the sound suddenly stopped. The witness waited until morning before leaving the cabin. At dawn, fresh snow revealed a single set of footprints leading directly to the cabin door. There were no footprints leading away. Authorities were never able to identify the man, and the incident remains unexplained. The cemetery had no name, no sign, no map showed it, yet everyone in the town knew where it was. A crooked iron gate stood between 2 dead trees, always open, always waiting. People said the dead there never truly slept. I laughed when I first came, flashlight shaking in my hand, boots crunching on gravel that sounded too loud in the silence. The air was colder past the gate, not night cold, but hollow, like the warmth had been drained away. Rows of gravestones leaned at impossible angles, some cracked, some sunken deep into the soil as if something beneath had pulled them down. My flashlight flickered, and for a second, I thought I saw movement between the graves. I told myself it was just fog, Then I heard breathing. It came from behind me. Slow, wet, patient. I spun around. Nothing. Only headstones and mist. When I turned back, a grave I had passed was closer. I was sure of it. The name on it was fresh, the letters sharp. It was my name. I stepped back, heart pounding. The ground shifted. Dirt began to move, crawling like insects. Fingers broke through the soil, gray and swollen, clawing upward. Another grave followed, then another, each with a familiar name. Friends, family, faces I recognized in my mind, pale and staring. The breathing grew louder. I felt it against my neck. A whisper slid into my ear. "You finally came home." I ran, but the path twisted, stretching endlessly. The gate was gone. The trees were closer now, bending inward. Graves surrounded me in a perfect circle. All of them were open. The flashlight died. Hands grabbed my ankles, my wrists, my throat. I screamed, but the sound sank into the earth. As they pulled me down, I understood the truth. The cemetery didn't bury the dead. It collected the living, the attic that breathed. When my grandmother died, she left me the house. No one in the family wanted it. They said it was too old, too isolated, too full of memories that should stay buried. I didn't argue. I needed somewhere cheap to live, and the house was free. That was reason enough. It stood at the edge of a dying village, surrounded by trees that leaned inward like they were listening. The roof sagged, the paint peeled, and the windows stared back at me with a dull, lifeless shine. Still, it felt solid, quiet, safe, at least at first. The first night, I slept downstairs on the couch. The air smelled of dust and old wood. The house creaked, but that was normal. Old houses always talk in the dark. What wasn't normal was the sound above me. A soft, dragging noise. Slow, careful, coming from the attic. I told myself it was the wind. Maybe rats. Maybe the house settling. I closed my eyes and forced myself to sleep. The second night, the noise returned. This time it was louder. Footsteps, bare feet, pacing back and forth directly above the ceiling. I sat up, heart pounding, staring at the dark staircase that led upward. At the very top was a narrow wooden ladder that disappeared into the attic hatch. I didn't go up there. Not yet. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. Objects moved when I wasn't looking. Doors I clearly remembered closing were wide open. The temperature dropped at night, especially near the staircase. And always, after midnight, the attic woke up. Sometimes it sounded like whispering, sometimes scratching. Once, I swear I heard my name. On the fourth night, I dreamed of the attic. I was standing inside it, surrounded by old furniture covered in white sheets. The air was thick, hard to breathe. Something was moving beneath the floorboards, bulging upward as if trying to push through. Then a voice spoke behind me. "You weren't supposed to come back." I woke up screaming. The next morning, I found the attic hatch open. I knew I hadn't touched it. I stood beneath it for a long time, staring up into the darkness. A cold breeze drifted down, carrying the smell of rot and something metallic. I should have left. Instead, I climbed the ladder. The attic was larger than I expected. The ceiling sloped sharply, wooden beams crossing like ribs. Dust floated in the air, dancing in the thin light coming from a single round window. Old trunks lined the walls. Broken mirrors, picture frames turned face down. And in the center of the room, a rocking chair. It was gently moving, back and forth, back and forth. I hadn't touched it. When I stepped closer, it stopped. That's when I noticed the markings on the floor. Deep scratches, carved into the wood in a circular pattern around the chair. Symbols I didn't recognize, but instinctively understood were meant to contain something. I felt watched. Then I found the photographs. Dozens of them, scattered inside a trunk. All black and white. All taken inside this house. And in every single